Hollywood created countless rivalries, but one feud turned poisonous. An Oscar night that became a plan for revenge. Secrets, sabotage, a humiliation staged in public. This is the true story behind Hollywood's most dangerous rivalry. Hollywood has witnessed rivalries. Actors competing for fame, studios fighting for power. But only once did hatred become so intense that one actress secretly sabotaged her rival's Oscar victory and smiled while accepting the award herself. Long before celebrity feuds dominated headlines, two women ruled Hollywood: Bette Davis and Joan Crawford. This was not a competition. This was war. In the golden age of Hollywood, actresses lived under brutal rules. Youth meant opportunity. Aging meant replacement. Studios controlled appearances, relationships, even personalities. Bette Davis survived through raw talent. She was not considered traditionally glamorous, but audiences couldn't look away from her intensity. Joan Crawford represented the opposite: elegant, perfectly styled, magnetic. She built herself from poverty into one of Hollywood's biggest stars. Both women fought constantly for control in an industry dominated by powerful men. And Hollywood rarely allowed two powerful women to exist peacefully at the same time. Eventually, they were pushed toward collision. In 1935, Davis worked alongside actor Franchot Tone. She later admitted she fell deeply in love. To Davis, Tone represented sophistication and emotional safety. But Joan Crawford noticed him too. Recently divorced and at the height of her fame, Crawford invited Tone to her home. Hollywood gossip claims she greeted him naked in her private solarium. Soon after, Tone married Crawford. Davis believed Crawford had taken him deliberately, not out of love, but victory. Years later, Davis said she felt Crawford stole him, coldly and deliberately. From that moment, every success Crawford achieved felt personal. Soon afterward, Davis prepared for her first major career breakthrough. Studio executives planned massive publicity. But suddenly, Joan Crawford announced her divorce publicly. Newspapers exploded. Headlines shifted overnight. Davis's film disappeared from public attention. The movie failed commercially. Whether coincidence or strategy, Davis became convinced Crawford destroyed her moment intentionally. In Hollywood, perception creates reality, and resentment began hardening into hatred. And here's what made this feud different from every other Hollywood rivalry. It didn't fade away. It didn't cool down. It never ended. And here's the disturbing part. Everything you've heard so far happened before the two women ever worked together. The real chaos hadn't even begun. Because when Hollywood finally forced them into the same movie, their hatred turned physical. If you enjoy uncovering the darker stories behind famous legends, stories Hollywood preferred to forget, consider subscribing. Because what happened next is easily the most vicious on-set rivalry ever recorded. In the 1940s, Crawford moved studios directly into Davis's territory. Her dressing room sat across from Davis's. Crawford attempted peace, flowers, gifts, friendly gestures. Every single one returned unopened. Interviews turned into verbal warfare. Davis mocked Crawford relentlessly, calling her artificial, a mannequin. even joking that Crawford had slept with every male star at MGM, except Lassie. Hollywood audiences watched in fascination. The feud itself became publicity, and both women understood something terrifying. Their hatred kept them relevant. By the early 1960s, both actresses faced fading careers. Hollywood had moved on. Then came Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, a psychological horror film starring two aging sisters trapped together. Reality mirrored fiction. Director Robert Aldrich cast them, knowing conflict would fuel performance. And it did. During filming, Davis reportedly struck Crawford hard enough to require stitches. Crawford retaliated creatively. In one scene, Davis had to drag Crawford across the floor. Crawford secretly filled her pockets with heavy rocks. Each take became physical punishment. Knowing Crawford's husband was Pepsi's CEO, Davis installed a Coca-Cola machine in Crawford's dressing room. Petty. Brilliant. Relentless. The tension on set became legendary. Yet the film succeeded. Audiences were captivated. Because the hatred felt real. It was. What made their rivalry unforgettable wasn't just hatred. It was fear. The fear of being replaced, forgotten, erased by Hollywood itself. Then came the ultimate revenge. Davis received an Oscar nomination for Baby Jane. Crawford did not. Publicly, Crawford supported Davis. Privately, she began campaigning, calling nominees, offering to accept awards on their behalf. Davis fully expected victory. Instead, Anne Bancroft won. And walking onto the stage, holding the Oscar, was Joan Crawford, smiling, accepting the award herself. Davis later said she was paralyzed with shock. The perfect humiliation. Their rivalry never ended. A planned sequel collapsed when Crawford abandoned production. Both women continued acting, but history remembered them together. Even decades later, resentment lingered. After Crawford's death, Davis reportedly said, "You should never say bad things about the dead, only good." Joan Crawford is dead. Good. Hollywood created legends, but fame magnifies rivalry. And sometimes, the greatest drama isn't written by screenwriters. It's lived. The feud between Bette Davis and Joan Crawford proved one thing. Success in Hollywood wasn't enough. Someone still had to win. And Hollywood history is filled with rivalries even darker than this one. But what happened between Bette Davis and Joan Crawford changed the rules forever. Because the next chapter gets even more shocking.